Hi everyone. Last week I was doing a presentation on disaster recovery using NSX-T 2.4 and I did this presentation during an internal VMware event, the Worldwide Kickoff or Tech Summit 2019, and I had a demo. This demo only worked partially, and I promised that when I got it to work, I would create a video and showcase this still. So today's that day, um, and this is kind of the slide where I dropped off the demo, so that will be continued. Well, that's today actually. So I split this video series into 4 parts, just to keep it a little bit more organized. In part 1, I'm going to do a small introduction of the lab environment that I'm using and the virtual network environment. In part 2, I am going to do a ping and traceroute test to demonstrate the normal operation of a multi-site active and standby deployment. In part 3, I'm going to do ping and traceroute test to demonstrate the normal operation of an active deployment multi-site. And in part 4, I'm actually going to break stuff and simulate a failure of complete DC1 and show how to continue the operations on DC2. Let's start. Let's start with part 1. This is how my demo environment looks like. I have this is data center 1, DC1, and this is DC2. So as you can see, I have different clusters here. I have a management cluster here, I have an edge cluster here, and I have a compute cluster here. Within the management cluster, I'm hosting a vCenter server appliance and an SRM server and the NSX manager/controllers. The edge holds the edge VMs, and the compute are basically just workload VMs. In data center 2, I basically have the same. The only difference is that I have an NSX manager cluster deployed here with a different IP address, which is optional, which is not in use, but it's just there, sitting there, doing nothing at the moment. I think what's worth mentioning is that I have an external machine where basically these workloads need to be able to ping to outside the NSX environment, and I have an external SFTP server to conduct NSX manager backups. So also good to know is that within this compute cluster in data center 1, I will have one 3-tier app consisting of 4 VMs, web, app, and DB, and on the other side, I basically have 2 instances deployed of the 3-tier app 1 and 3-tier app 2, just to simulate, to have a little bit more flexibility to demonstrate the active and active standby operations. So this slide here is with IP addresses. I don't think it's relevant to go deeper into this, but just to make a bit more clear. So the network design, let's go into the network design. I will have one tier 0 router. Actually, there are 2 displayed here, but there's actually one. Just to just showcase that it's active. And that tier 0 is pairing with local top of rack switches. So this is data center 1. And on the other side, I also have a tier 0 router, NSX-T tier 0 gateway, and also pairing with its local top of rack switches. And these top of rack switches are currently Cumulus VX switches, virtual switches, that I'm using to just simulate simulate the network. So to combine all of these switches, I also have a Cumulus core, where basically these are all connected to make sure that routing gets pushed out to the core and everywhere where it's needed. So from a site perspective here, in data center 1, I have a tier 1 gateway here which holds a logical switch web, app, and database logical switch here. And on the other side, I also have a tier 1 gateway that also holds a web app and database logical switch, but on the other side. This is primarily to simulate the active use case that we have. Okay, so this is also again a slide with IP addresses, not relevant for now, will be relevant in the future in another video. And this is the BGP configuration that I have. I think it's good to know that my tier 1 is in this AS here, ending with 2.0. The DC2 tier 0 router is in another AS, ending with 2.2, and each of my top of rack switches are in different ASs. So here I'm using eBGP between the top of rack switches and the core, and I'm using eBGP between my tier 0 and my top of rack switches. There is auto plumbing between the tier 1 and the tier 0, and the rest of the logical switches use the default gateway towards the tier 1.